Today we're embarking on an epic adventure of making game logos realistic. We're working on Starfield, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Jedi. Some game logos look so bland compared to the actual gameplay.
That is crap.
So I wanted to add some personality and make it look more epic. First up, we've got Starfield. Now, when I think of field, I think of a minefield, you know, that game that you used to play when you were really bored. Anyway, if you didn't know, this game is coming out later in September, and it's basically No Man's Sky on steroids. Let's jump into it and see what we can create. All right, first things first, let's find a Starfield kind of space station. I need to look for something that's round that can fit the overall design. There's a few cool ones here. This one looks kind of good. I'm gonna drop in this space station and I'm gonna scale it down. I just quickly warped it a little bit. Now I gotta create something for this extra section here, and we'll make a selection like this. And let's go content aware fill. We've sort of got this extension, that's cool. And then we'll just paint over it to make it look. And I'll do the same thing, make sure I'm on the right layer. And content aware fill, such a cool thing. We've got the pieces of the puzzle starting to come together. Now I'm just gonna make the station look a bit more 3D. So I'm just gonna paint some shadows. All right, I'm just gonna give some more space as well to the middle section. Make a duplicate of it. So now we should have two. And I'm gonna try and connect it. Now I want to make the logo look embossed into the actual space station on my logo layout, and we'll go bevel and emboss. I'm going to go chisel hard and put it on the down so it looks like it's going to be sort of pressed in. So because the F is actually over the middle section, I need to move it to put it on this middle bar section with these like pipes. So I'm just going to transform and move the E, the I, and then I'll move the F across. So it should look a bit more realistic. I'm going to go ahead and drop in this nice texture that I found. And this should add that little extra detail to make the materials look more, you know, 3D and metallic. And I'm going to throw that onto space station. I'm going to change it. Probably maybe multiply or overlay would probably work best. And it is a little bit dark, so I will brighten it back up a bit to make it look more beveled. Now let's drop in the salad dish so we can contact our alien friends outside the galaxy. Make a mask, and I'll just paint out the areas I don't want. I'm gonna duplicate this and bring it to the bottom. Let's add some humans floating around there. They'll have to fix a damaged hull or something. Let's add in some stars for some added detail. And if we go overlay, that's pretty cool. I want to find the right mixture. Use the ellipse selection tool to get rid of the stars outside. So now they're sort of just like within. I adjusted the shadows of the type to make it look more embossed. And I feel like I fixed it. It is a bit harder to read on the right side, but I feel like it's looking pretty cool. Now I'm at a quick highlights layer. Let's add a solid color. Then I like to go like a light sort of tint of maybe yellowish because the sun is probably shining. And I'm gonna hide that layer. And then all I gotta do is switch it to linear dodge. And then go to my vector mask. And then I select spaceship, drop the opacity a little bit, and I can add like a nice. And adding these little highlights everywhere. Holding shift and then pulling up, making sure my brush is small so you get that nice. I'm literally using my mouse, so I'm not even using a Wacom tablet, but anyway. I got my brushes and I've got these cool lens flares. I'm gonna select one of these and use it to add just a nice touch. We'll add a bit of color as well. And there you have it, a new starry-eyed, realistic version of the Starfield logo. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Let's jump into the next one. So here's the Avatar logo. I've got this, I've separated the two parts. First up, I'm just going to drop in a nice wood. This is gonna act as a good shape for the tagline. Just gonna warp this a little bit, just to give it some extra. First, I'm gonna drop in some wood and moss textures, just to make the text a whole lot better. Now I'm just going to drop the contrast down a bit and the brightness. I can make it more darker. I'm going to tweak the hue saturation just a little bit as well. Now let's add a bit of a drop shadow to make the text stand out. We're also going to add a bevel. We're also going to chuck an inner shadow to make the text pop. I'm going to drop the opacity down. We're going to add a bit more shadow. And we'll add some highlights on top as well. Linear dodge, and then I think it's looking pretty good. I just got to tweak some of the shadows and added a bit of a yellowy color to make the text better. I wanted to add some cool effects for detail, so I'm throwing in an arrow here. Because in the game and in the movie, you know, they're savages. They be using arrows and bows and sometimes guns. So I'm just gonna rub out the tip and make it look like it's stuck in the wood. Bit of Gaussian blur. I use a duplicate to make the base of the shadow, and then I just gotta paint the extra length of it to make it match the lighting. I'm gonna drop in some moss, and we can add those little details on the wood there because it's an adventure. It's not always clean. You wanna have grunge, a bit of texture, a bit of dirt, you know, to make it look more realistic. And I feel like this adds that extra level of detail and dimension. So I'm just gonna throw that on, make a mask, and then just paint out the areas I don't want, and just add in those little bit of areas in the corners and the edges to make it look like it's a real piece of like moss on a wood. We're gonna drop in some rocks in here. Now I just want to put it behind that. I'll just move it to the right position. In the movie they got those floating rocks and it looks really cool. The sky rocks basically, and they've got vines and you could see the natural order of things. And I think that just adding that little touch there, a bit cool. Now we're gonna add some puppet warp action to bend the vines to the actual wood. This makes it a bit more realistic and flow with the actual piece of wood. Can't forget the plants, so I'm gonna drop in some plants and leaves that look like jungle type of leaves, and I'm just going to drag this behind the wood. I want to add a few more flowers and touches. I wanted to keep the overall theme within that bluish tone of the brand color, so I made this flower a bit blue. I also added these little jungle monstera plants in the back and added some shadows to really make it come alive and stand out and just add more dimension. Pretty happy with it. Now I'm going to work on the main logo here. And because Avatar is mostly about blue people, then we're going to make it blue. So I'm going to drag in some blue texture here. Found this nice like leather texture. Almost looks like snake skin type, sort of. And I want to drop in this stone texture as well. I'm going to add a bevel and make it look 3D. And I'm going to change the lighting. So we're going to go with these nice blues. I'm going to add a glow as well. So we'll go add a glow. You pull up the size and just drop the opacity so it's not too harsh. We'll add a inner glow as well. We'll make it into a gradient, and I like to have it fade out. Now let's add some finishing touches. I'm going to add some highlights on the edges and some shadows just to make it pop a little bit more. And finally just adding that highlight of the blue glow to the edges of the wood and the plants to make it look really realistic, because that light is illuminating, so got to make sure that the blue is on everything. It's a touch of glow. And there we have it, the new Avatar logo. Let me know what you think of this one. Next up we got Jedi Survivor. Now it's so fun to play. Alright, I got my lightsaber. I don't know if I like this yellow color. I'll probably change it. Make it a bit smaller. First, I want to drag this planet, and that's going to become the O. I'm going to drop in some texture, and I'm going to work on that logo text up the top. Hopefully this turns out nicely. Now, once again, let's make it look 3D. Let's go for a bevel and emboss. And we'll do hard chisel. Next, I made this chrome effect. I just used a simple add-on to do it quickly. Hey, it's kind of cheating, but whatever. I'm just going to adjust the text a little bit. Now I'm going to change the colors of these lightsabers. Particularly the green or blues looks really cool. or even red. And I'm gonna add a bit more glow. Now we're gonna add a color. We'll go for with the green as well, just to make it consistent. Change it to color. We'll add a bit of a shadow here. Let's go and add a glow. Now we're gonna add some more detail to the text. We'll go pin light, we'll drop the opacity down, and then we'll let it go green. Now it's my job to add the green glow where the reflections are going to be on the text, you know, the planet on the top as well. It just adds that extra detail on the text and the overall design. So you always want to make sure that you get the lighting right. Add that nice glow. Now I decided to drop in some lightning effects because it's just way cooler when you've got lightning, and I threw it into the lightsaber on top. I've added a bit of like overlay, and then I was actually customizing and painting some extra lightning lines coming out of it to add a bit more extra effects, and I had a lot of fun with this part. It was great to add that extra detail. And one more grunge texture on top of the text because the metal was looking too pristine, so I felt like it needed some to be torn and weathered. And there you have it, the final Jedi Survivor logo in realistic form. I hope you enjoyed this one. Here are the 3 final logos. Let me know in the comments below what is your favorite one, and remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you want more videos just like this.